What's going on, everybody? This is Will from Strive. Today I'm really happy to be talking about one of the most important topics that's near and dear to my heart, and to make sure that all players get the most out of their skill work sessions. It just breaks my heart when a player works 2 to 3 hours in the gym and then nothing translates onto the court. So today we're going to talk about how to make your skill work session as good as possible. Now there's going to be a series of stuff because starting as a strength and conditioning coach, periodization is absolutely key. So today we're going to be talking about sessions, but later we're going to be talking about how to plan out your weeks as well as your phase to make sure that you get the most out of your time that you spend on the court. So before we can put together a proper and customized skill work sessions for our clients and players, we have to ask ourselves a few questions. How old is this player and how much experience does he have? How committed is he? Is it just for fun, or is he someone who's been playing 3-4 years in professional level? What position does he play? What is he gonna see in the game? What situations is he gonna need to be ready for? Then we ask ourselves, or we ask the client, how often, what is the frequency that you have? How many hours do you have to work out per day? How many days a week? What phase are you in? And then finally, once we know all that information, then we can construct what we call a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This may be seen in business when consultants come in and really look over a business, but we can do the same thing once we gather all this information from our players, maybe watch a bit of film, but really get to know the player at heart, who he is and what he really wants. So once we have a good idea of who our player is, what he's looking for, how much experience he has, then we're going to look at the spectrum. Who are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a middle school player who needs a lot of reps on shooting mechanics and finishes around the rim, whether it's traditional layups or reverse layups? Or are we dealing with a pro that's been playing in Europe for 10 years, knows exactly what his position is, knows exactly what the game is gonna ask out of him, and we're looking at different options in order for him to execute on a dime and not have to think? Well, when you look at the spectrum, the younger the player is, the more general stuff we'd work on. The older the player is, the more specific and straight to the point that it has to be. But no matter if it's a pro or a middle school player, things that we work on a daily basis is shooting, ball handling, finishing, passing, and footwork out of all 4 of those categories. So once we're done with our general breakdown, then we'll go into the topic of the day. What are we really after? I strongly believe that there should only be one topic of the day that you're trying to focus on, especially if you're dealing with an individual player. So we take a concept, MMS, mechanics, movements, and situations. So the younger the player is, usually the more mechanics that you're gonna have to work on. This could be footwork, this could be shooting mechanics, this could be a wide range of different things, but you're really trying to spend, say, the hour, the 45 minutes, really trying to get good reps out of that player. Then, as we progress, we go into different moves. Maybe you're trying to work on a stunt or an in and out cross with that player in transition or in a half court set. Okay, and then finally we work on situations. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated, and depending on the level of the player, this is where he'd stay for a large part of the workout. So when we think about a situation, we think about options and we think about thought process. So an example of this is, let's look at a pin down, for instance. We give them, say, for example, 4 different options off the pin down, and then how to think about the pin down depending on who is guarding them and how much space they have. So when you come off a pin down, you could say pop, curl, fade, or you could go back door. So those are the things that we want to work on. Those are the things we want the player to know that's available to them in this particular scenario. But that's not enough. We also need to increase the player's IQ in that, okay, I know that I have these few options, but how is the defender's positioning? How is he playing me? Okay, how tall is he? Do I feel like he's faster than me? Do I feel like he's gambling? What do I feel about the defender and his position? Now, where's the help? If I catch that ball in a certain position, where is the help going to come from? Then where are my teammates? Because great, I want to catch the ball, but I might have to look for a certain teammate either cutting or getting good position in the post here. And then finally, how much space do I need to create in order to get what I want to do? So I know that's a lot of things to think about, but when you get up to the higher levels and you're talking about situations, this is all the stuff that you have to look into. Then finally, I feel like this is one of the most overlooked parts of skill development is small-sided games. Now, I've done a ton of research on learning and skill acquisition, on how people learn, how they apply into basically no pressure into being able to apply it into a game. So the way that we do it is we take something, let's go back to the pin down, and say we give the offense a little bit of an advantage. So he might be basically in front of the defense, something that wouldn't happen in the game, but I want to give that offensive player an advantage to be able to execute what I want him to execute. Then from there, it's very likely that we go one-on-one live, okay? The ball might not start with the defender, the ball might start with a teammate or a coach. Then finally, we might go in a skill development session, 3-on-3, with constraints, depending on what we want to get out of that session, and into a live situation. Now, again, I've talked to you guys about this being a series, and I am so passionate about skill development because I always want to make sure that our players are able to take what we do in the skill lab and be able to apply it when it matters most, which is in a game. I would love to hear how your workouts might be similar or different than mine. If there's any questions that you guys have, please feel free to get in touch with us. I'd be happy to discuss any kind of this stuff with you guys. I'll see you next time.